I'm not going to watch the credits part. My name is Just a Fan, and these are my 10 minutes for Moana. You literally just watched me watch the ending there, so I am so fresh out of this movie, I haven't even had more than a minute to think about what to say. But I think I can handle 10 minutes on this one. It's a great movie, and there's a lot of stuff I could say about it. We'll see if I need more time later. And if you don't know how this works, all I do is I get this electronic brick here, and I give myself a siren mode alarm, because that's the most stressful. 10 minutes to talk about a brand new movie to me that I've never seen before. I never saw Moana, and I guess I should preface this. I make the rules anyway, but I'm also not cheating because this isn't about Moana in particular, but I've been really into the Pixar Disney thing recently. I guess Moana's not a Pixar movie directly, but Disney movies, Pixar movies, those combinations and such have been huge in my mind recently. I've really been appreciating them. I've watched quite a few of them that I've already seen recently again, and I'm just loving it. So I'm coming out of a big Pixar, like I said, Pixar Disney animation thing going on. A lot of emotion there, a lot of things to learn from awesome stories and very well told narrations. And so just because of that, I wanted to point out that I have a little background there, especially recently. And there's still a ton I haven't seen. I'm really ashamed to admit it. I probably shouldn't because all the hateful comments are coming, but there's a lot of these more recent. And when I say recent, that could be 5 to 10 years recent, but a lot of these Disney and Pixar movies I still haven't seen yet. Moana was one of them until just now, and also movies like Tangled, and gosh, there's just a lot out there. Tangled is one that comes to my mind that everyone says they like, so there's gotta be more. I know there's more. I'm thinking about Moana right now, though, but I just apologize that there's a lot of these movies. Princess and the Frog, I didn't see that one. That's another one. But there's going to be a lot of movies out there that you're surprised I haven't seen, and I'm really sorry for that. I'm doing my best. Here I am, talking about Moana, and I'm going to start doing that right now. 10 minutes, here we go. Boom. Start. I like this movie quite a bit. It was very fun. The visually is fantastic. I think the visuals and the art styles and the animations and the way everything looked was probably my favorite part. I really enjoy that type of thing. Moana herself just looked awesome through most of the movie, and I love the way, like one of the things that just sticks out in my mind is the time that I guess her boat got washed ashore onto Maui's island, the island he's been waiting on for thousands of years or whatever, and the sand was all in her hair and she looked disheveled, and it was good, it was realistic, and it looked really awesome, and I like the way they did that type of thing. So visually, awesome. Musically, also awesome. Some of the songs I thought were, there were no bad songs, but a couple of them, some of the lines they went through was a little bit basic or simple or kind of just odd, and played more for just having not even necessarily filler in the song, but just for having some kind of comment in song that didn't really add to it in general. It was interesting also how the songs were breaking up. They would have, some singing, some visuals, some music, and they would stop and have some dialogue, and I thought, oh, we're on dialogue now, and then it would go back into the song all of a sudden. That happened a few times, which I guess was just the style of the movie, so that's okay, but it kind of thought that was interesting. The thing I did like about the music, though, that I was trying to say, is the fact that it sounded fantastic, even if the lyrics were a little odd necessarily, or if the visuals didn't match up with something, at least the music itself and the way it sounded was phenomenal. So I love that part about it. I should say really quick too, by the way, that I haven't looked at any other reviews on this. All I know is people like the movie. I've never seen someone tell me about it or say anything about it. I've never read any particular, not even a spoiler thing, but just any comment about it that could change how I would think of it. This is all coming directly from me, directly after seeing the movie. So I just know people liked it. That's really all, and I can definitely see why. It's a nice character-driven story. It's not necessarily plot-driven, like Moana gets, sucked into this quest because the world wants her to go. I really like how they established early on that her character loves the idea of the ocean and being out there and seeing what's out there and experiencing what's out there and connecting with the ocean, too. And that, it's not been 10 minutes, I know, but I really need to drive this point in, is that I love the beginning of this movie. Not necessarily the part where Maui goes and steals the heart of Te I hope I'm saying these things right. I'm a German speaker, not a Hawaiian speaker. But not necessarily that part, but her as a child. hearing about these stories from her grandmother, which was really cool and neat. And she goes to the ocean. I love how I'm a huge water person. I love water. I've always loved sea life and aquariums and the feeling of water. And I love drinking water. Everything about water, I'm a seriously, huge fan of. It's kind of hard to describe. And turtles are one of my 10 favorite animals. Yes, 10. And so I love the concept that the ocean kind of has its, there's a spirit of the ocean. And I'm really glad it wasn't personified somehow, other than the fact that the ocean was able to manipulate its water to do certain things. But I like how it didn't talk. I like how it didn't make things super obvious what it was trying to do. Sometimes, yes. I mean, throwing somebody, either the chicken, hey, right? Throwing the chicken, Moana, or Maui back on the boat or something, we know it was trying to do there. But at the beginning, the very awesome, profound way that Moana goes to the beach, and it shows her a conch shell, I believe it was, and it spreads out for her to come on inside. And I love how she helped that little baby turtle. That was really cool. I would love to be able to do that in real life, to see baby turtles get, hatch and make their first trip to the ocean. That kind of thing is magical. And the way that it had her just in the middle of the water and you could see all the sea life, it's super colorful and amazing and animals are everywhere. That is such appreciation for what we do have on Earth, and we're super lucky to have, even if humanity hasn't really treated the environment or the ocean in particular as nicely as it deserves, which bugs the heck out of me. But that was just great visually and just whimsically, I guess I could say. I hesitate to use the word whimsy or whimsical, but that was an intro with her and her character that really spoke to me directly, just because of who I am and what I appreciate, and the water thing. It just was all right there, which is great. It was interesting that in the opening songs, they started having some opening songs that we could see her grow up and spend a lot of time trying to get out to the ocean and having her dad stop her, which makes sense based on what he was trying to do and based on what she was interested in. It was interesting, though, how he was saying, you got to be the chief, and her innate base response is, I have other things I want to explore. Not that she hated the idea of being the chief, but she had other things she wanted to explore. And the way that even during the song, it was kind of not clashing brutally, but a little bit of a clash, and then all of a sudden she was just going along with it. I'm going to be the chief. There was no thing in there to make us realize that she realized that she really did want to be the chief more than she wanted to explore what her dreams were. So that was kind of odd, but then of course it goes back to her not so sure about staying there and being the chief as much as exploring other things. And at least there was a reason for her to go explore and do these things and restore the heart of Te Fiti, just because the island was dying, so to speak. They mentioned once in the movie, the fish aren't hanging around there anymore, the coconuts weren't growing correctly and being rotten, I guess. So it makes sense. And I guess while I'm still on the note of the island, I'm going to get the name wrong, Motunui, something like that. But I love the concept. This is great. And the ending that just happened, I love it, where her dad brings her to the sacred place at the top of the island where each new chief adds a stone. And at first I was like, okay, sure. But then he said that each chief brings the island higher. They make the island physically higher, but really it's a representation of what the chief does for the people and for the island itself. Perfect. I love that concept. And it wasn't too it wasn't too cliche. I think that was a good way to kind of point out something important to him, important to the island, important to their people. And then I love at the end, the last visual I just saw, I think, or one of the last visuals, was her conch shell that the ocean gave back to her at the end. That was her piece of, raising the island. And that, again, visually and mentally gets the viewer to realize that she raised the island all right, and she did it her own way. She didn't just take another stone slab and put it up there. She could have, but she used her conch shell that meant something to her, and she rose the island in her own way, which is awesome. I love that. So great character stuff going on there. I guess I should talk about other characters like Maui. His character was pretty cool. I like the way they did him and most of his actions. It's interesting how his tattoos almost had more morality than he did. I kind of wondered how that worked. This is a minor issue, but the fact that he would say, "I'm not helping you, Moana," and then this tattoo would be like, at him. I'm glad they didn't make the tattoo speak. It was told visually, which was awesome. I love that kind of thing. I got a few laugh out loud moments where one of them was when Moana, I don't remember what she said by now, but the tattoo drew out like a score chart and she gave one to Moana. That was the kind of thing. That's how you do it. When you have that type of thing to try to add humor to an animated movie, that's the kind of humor that works. This didn't happen a heck of a lot, but I'm not a huge fan of what we seem to have recently, fast-paced humor with joke, and this. There's just a lot of the style of comedy in animated movies these days it's a little bit lower quality than I think it was when I was younger and movies were coming out 15 years ago. Here's one example where Maui, they're going into the cave to, what are they trying to get his hook back? They want to get his hook back, and she's like, where's the entrance, or how do we get in? And he says something like, they require a human sacrifice. And I've seen this so many times recently where I just said, he's kidding. He's just going to say, kidding. It's just, you just walk right in or something. And he did. There was some, he just kind of made some motion and used some wind to blow off some dust or something, and they got in. But the fact that he literally said, just kidding, we just go right in, or I just do this basic thing, that's the kind of humor that's just it was predictable to me. I knew exactly what he was going to say right after he said, they need a human sacrifice. And that's such a one-dimensional, not super clever way to do humor, in my opinion. I'm sure some people are laughing at that stuff, and that's fine, but I don't appreciate that type of humor lately. And that wasn't even the whole movie. There's all kinds of good stuff in that movie, with humor and not with humor. It was predictable on the note of predictability. There were a couple moments where I said, this is going to happen, and it happened, and it was a little cliche or stereotypical, but at least it was done well. And of course, at the end, I'm going to forget the name of the giant fire monster. Teifa, is that it? Teifa? Something like that. When she's trying, when she decides she's going to go put that heart back in even without him, which is fine for her character. And as soon as she's in the biggest trouble, I knew, he's going to come save her, obviously. I mean, there's nothing else to do. When you have your main character and your other main or your main supporting character, when they have their fight in the movie, which they often have and go separate ways, Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, perfect example right there. You pretty much can, with a movie like this, always guess that when the main character goes off to do their thing, to save everything, to do their main character arc part of the story, that the other character is going to come in all surprisingly and save them, of course. So predictable, yeah, in that sense sometimes, but it at least was done well. I do wish, on that note though, there was one scene, just one extra scene of Maui himself realizing what he really wanted, because we didn't get that. We got Moana realizing what she wanted to do, and that was a really interesting scene where the spirit of her grandmother came up when I saw the ray. I don't know if it's a stingray or a manta ray. I don't know the difference. As a water lover, I apologize. Oh my gosh, already? 10 minutes already? I need more time for this movie, so we're going to call this Just a Fan Gets as much time as he wants for Moana, because I have way more to say. I apologize. I'm breaking my own rules, but that's okay. What was that? So stingrays and manta rays. I knew it was going to be the grandmother as soon as I saw a ray coming, which is okay. I mean, that's the kind of predictability you want the viewer to have and to make. You want them to realize that something happened that was important in the story, important to the characters, and it's going to come back to help out the character in their time of need, which was pretty well timed in terms of pacing on this one. This was our dark second act, the end of the second act of the movie, where people are kind of down on their luck and they need to figure out how to overcome the huge issue they have in front of them. So that was well timed. And so when she was there, she kind of had given up, so to speak, or I couldn't do it. She said to her grandmother's spirit, I guess, I couldn't do it. And that was the kind of scene where you see the main character. This happens in all kinds of movies. You see the main character realize what they really want, or what's really important, or find the inspiration inside themselves, and with the support of their family and friends, which we got, that they need to try again and overcome whatever, conflict they have to overcome. And that was fine. But we didn't get that for Maui. And that's the one thing I thought it was missing, because it was going to be predictable that he would just come back and save her. But at least as he was flying away, when he first flew away from her, I wish they had something where they showed him thinking about it, or maybe he would communicate. I mean, that was a good opportunity to have the tattoo thing again. Have a tattoo joke where it says, come on, man, get out there. You realize what's really important. It could have done something like that, because that would be an inward character moment for him to realize that he's not as cold-hearted as he thought he was, or as he was acting, or as he wanted to be. So that's the one real thing the movie was kind of missing, but it still worked out in the end. Truthfully, it did. Gosh, I can't believe that was 10. That was the fastest 10 minutes I've had so far in my 10-minute reviews. Oh my gosh. A couple other things I would want to mention are the fact that the supporting friend characters to the main character. So Moana had the pig Pua, and the chicken Hey. I knew as soon as I knew that she was going to go out on her own and attempt this journey, I was like, she has to take the pig and the chicken because they're the ones who keep the main character grounded. We've seen this in so many stories before where you have to have, and they're often animals like this. They're often animals or characters that don't talk, or I mean they can talk too, but in an animated movie like this where it's around nature and you have animals in the story that have character, so to speak, I knew that she had to bring them with them. I just was surprised that she didn't. I would think that she would say, all right, I'm going on this journey. She was preparing. Her mom even helped her make sure she was prepared for a bit there, and I'm surprised she didn't say, all right, I'm going to take Pua and Hey. They're the ones who are going to keep me sane and grounded and feeling comforted and knowing I have a connection to something around me. And I thought that was so odd that she didn't. Obviously the chicken stowed away anyway, and that was okay for a decent joke. I kind of liked the sound effect when she put the coconut half on his head. Just that little slight clunking sound was funny. But that was the only part I really laughed at of that scene. But at least it was there. Like, that was important. I'm really surprised though she didn't take the pig. I thought that would be just as important to take as the chicken. But with how much they went through a lot of stuff, with how much conflict, not trauma, but just suffering / difficulty and issues they had to go through, it's actually surprising that the chicken made it. I like how they even made a joke where he said, oh, the chicken lives. That was alright, because it was kind of surprising to see how much that Moana and the other characters there, I guess Maui and Hey, had to go through just to, bring the stone, the heart of Te Fiti back to Te Fiti. I hope I'm saying these things right. So that was alright. The grandmother scene, I had an important thing I wanted to say. As soon as I saw this scene, I thought, this is something I need to bring up in my 10-minute review, where I am surprised. I love the grandmother character. She was great. She was a good older character with wisdom who said the right thing at the right time kind of character, and it wasn't stereotypical in a bad way. We've seen this type of thing before. I mean, think about Yoda. He said a lot of the right things at the right time, or at least wise things at an important time, I would say in his case. But I love the grandmother's character and the way she just knew how to connect with Moana in a way where she knew she would inspire her. My first instance of loving that character was when she was dancing once again around the water with the rays around her, and she said, I think Moana said, are you trying to tell me something? And the grandmother said, well, is there something you want to hear? And she kind of answered her question with questions, trying to not make it about what the grandmother was trying to say, but Moana, what are you trying to say? What do you feel? What are you trying to go for here? So I love that kind of wisdom right there. That's the best kind of mentor, I guess I would say, in my opinion, or one of the best kinds of mentors you can have in a story or a movie. And so later in the movie, I thought it was very interesting when the spirit of the grandmother came to inspire her again or to reconnect with her, that Moana said, we tried and we couldn't do it, we failed, or I couldn't do it. I was surprised that the grandmother was so, what's the word I'm looking for? She was so willing to just say, well, if you want to go back home, then I'll support you on that kind of thing. And it wasn't even like I wish she said this instead. The first thing she should have said, Moana said, I couldn't do it. Literally, I think it was those words, I couldn't do it. And I wish the grandmother said something like, well, you didn't do it that time, but that doesn't mean you can't do it, or something like that. Something at least slightly inspirational, or something slightly don't give up-ish, because she was so open to Moana just going back home and saying, I'll support you with that, I'll be here with you still. I think she said something really sweet and great, that was, there's no place you can go where I won't be with you, or something like that. That's great stuff right there. I mean, that's what you want to see with characters connecting to each other. But it was just so, I needed like one more line in there where it was something like, you didn't do it that time, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. And then you open up your choices where if you want to try again, I'll be right there with you, and if you don't want to try again, I'll still be with you, type of thing. So that's the one thing that came to my mind during that scene that I knew I wanted to say. Just because that was an important part of the characters in terms of what Moana was trying to accomplish and how she was getting emotional and spiritual support from her grandmother there. So that was good. I was kind of wondering if it would be the classics. This would be a cliche where she completes her quest and goes back home and everyone's happy to see her, and she goes to her dying grandmother and says, Grandma, I solved everything, and her grandma suddenly gets better. I'm kind of glad they didn't have that, just because it would have been very cliche, and I think we we got what we needed from the grandmother in other ways. We didn't need her to get better suddenly to be there for Moana, because she already was there for Moana in ways that we knew were as powerful as could possibly be. So that, I really, the grandmother, pretty darn good character for what she was, because we have so many characters like that in so many, especially animated movies these days. The way they did that one was awesome. The way they did Moana was awesome. The way they did Maui was great. I guess just as awesome, other than the fact that we needed that extra scene where his character should have found the inspiration inside himself to still help Moana or something like that. The characters at the beginning, I guess there were a few more. The dad and the mom were alright. The dad was a little forcefully anti-ocean or anti-Beyond the Reefs. It was fine, you know. It was kind of I guess, one-dimensional, I might say. The conflict between Moana and her dad was kind of one-dimensional in terms of, you need to stay here and focus on being the chief, and then she wanted to not stay here necessarily and not focus on being the chief, but focus on finding other ways to support the island or support her life or support her people. That was kind of just one-dimensional, just this, and there was just a little bit there. But since that was at the beginning of the movie and it set up things pretty well, I think that's really just, it's mostly fine. It's good. It's a great movie. I can see why people like it. I had very few issues with it. Minor instances where I was annoyed, or, you know, again, coming back to the humor, where the humor is just kind of one-dimensional, fast-paced, and just, you know, this, and it's like trying to be witty and fast to make us laugh, and it doesn't really hit me in the same way that it would probably hit a younger child in these days, just because you can kind of tell sometimes in animated movies when there's a joke more that's not necessarily slapsticky. It could be slapsticky, but just, you know, a slapstick humor piece or a something humor piece where it's there just to visually be comical for probably a younger person, and sometimes older ones too. I mean, I can't tell someone what they should find funny. I just, those are minor things. So I'm just kind of making a review, not a review. I'm making the review, but just making a summary at this point. You know, the minor things of character, like I was talking about, those minor instances of the humor that was kind of like, alright, whatever. But really, it's a great movie, and I'm super glad I chose to watch it. I'm looking at doing more, it looks like I find them, I'm looking at doing more Pixar Disney things. I thought of another one that I have not seen yet, that of course everyone would have seen, which is Finding Dory. That's on Netflix, so I'm going to watch that one. And I love Finding Nemo. I've seen it so many times by now. Ironically, I've seen it more times in German than I've seen it in English, so it's going to be weird to watch it in English unless I can find it in German. I'll do English. I like the originality of doing that, because the language is part of the movie. So I'll be doing Finding Dory hopefully next, and Incredibles 2 is coming out in a few months. I'm really excited for that one. I'm definitely going to make some reviews about that, or some videos talking about the Incredibles movie, or movies, I should say, because we're going to have two now. And there's a particular cool connection I have with the Incredibles. I'm not going to say what it is right now, but the way it was made, or who made it, has a pretty interesting thing that I can say about it that not many people can say. So that's going to be an exciting one. But for now, I'm just going to, you know, enjoy Moana and feel glad that I saw that movie. And I'm super sorry that if you came here looking for a 10-minute review, that you got probably a 20 or 25-minute review. I don't know how much time it is right now, but I apologize for going over my time. I hope you can forgive me, but I do hope that you enjoyed my review of Moana. I certainly enjoyed Moana. If you have any questions, let me know, or things you want me to address, I'd be glad to do it. Or if you have criticisms for my pronunciation for some names in the movie, I'll accept that too. That's on me. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.